Hello, 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 hello. Good. So currently, for my current analysis, right, I'm looking to potentially take this trade based off AJ, right? So kind of breaking this down based off this higher time frame. As you can see right now in H4, we are getting kind of like a little weak candle. Yeah. So it's kind of a weak candle. That's kind of why I'm kind of looking for sales. Mainly too, we have a bigger range, so this would be a counter trend. But like I said, we have a good enough range to counter trend. As you can see, it's about 100 pips, give or take. Yeah, and then so on this H4 time frame, right? So what I'm looking at is pretty much we have a higher low, we have a higher high, and this is pretty much the higher low, pretty much gapped right here. Now we kind of fill that gap, and now we're pushing up, right? So I would assume this can be like a nice little move up. Um, we're still bullish, right? Still bullish on the H4, so I'm still keeping that in mind. Even if we do sell down, you know what I mean? Maybe it won't be too um, drastic, depending on how that H4 candle forms. We could hit here, right? TP1 would be here, TP2 would be here, and then TP3 is actually this MA that also lines up perfectly with this negative 61.8 take profit. So that's kind of like confluence there with those two. I would try to hit, right? But again, so TP1 would be something like if we can just, we're not breaking this level, right? We're seeing a lot of weak candles. H4 close with a lot of exhaustion. This could just be TP1, depending how we close, right? Or we can just get a nice push down here, and then we kind of just see how we kind of react off that. Because again, it's like we're still bullish, right? So even if we do push up here, I mean, we still could technically push for consolidation, right? So this can have a retracement all the way up here, you know. So maybe this would be something that we actually, yeah, I don't know how we play it. It's really just playing it by ear. I think also playing it by just how candle closes. Um, yeah, so we'll see how this plays out. Definitely. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. We'll see how it plays out. We see if we can get that entry as of now. Not looking like it. So what I'm looking for, right? Go down to the M30 now. Obviously, we're a lot more bearish based off this, right? We did gap, so I'm being a bit cautious of that. Um, but as you can see, we're still kind of just counter trending right here. And I think we're analyzing this better off the M5, as you can see here. Higher low, higher high, right? Overall, so I know we're overall more bullish. And right here, we're starting to kind of push once again bullish. Kind of how I'm seeing it right here. Kind of seeing if we can get back into that main trend, which is also an M30 here to here. But at the moment, it looks like we are, right? But again, right now what's kind of in control would be obviously M5 is still bullish, and we can actually start to mark this here off as well. Now that we kind of have this going here, I think it's actually, what candle is this? 10:30. Yeah, push down, push up. Okay, cool. So yeah, so this is pretty much that level that we would pretty much want to see be broken here. Nice higher low. If we can get this break, it'll be kind of a nice little transition for this M5 time frame. And now that we have that level, we can actually mark that level off with the trend line as well. Bang. And it also lines up kind of perfectly with MA as well. I think right here, yeah, we're pretty much above it too. So we're pretty much above this area here. So what we really want to see is pretty much M30. Yeah, give us like a nice weak candle, but M5 also has to look somewhat bearish, right? Like right now, it looks like we can probably get that push, getting a nice weak candle, and that weak candle is technically a lower high point as well. So I think, you know, I mean, an entry here wouldn't be too bad. Stop loss will be 184, which is not bad as well. If we go down to M1, we see what that is. Okay, boom. What time is it? It's 4. It is 4. It is 4 o'clock, and it is. So we're not technically in session for this time frame. But we still have a possible entry. And boom, we're up. So now we're still bullish. Still bullish with M5. Boom, boom, boom. So M5 is still bullish no matter what. M5 is still bullish no matter what. We would love to see that pretty much take an effect. And here. This is also doing the same thing, so it's pretty much higher low, higher high, push up, right? And it's that push up there, which is pretty much correlating based off this time frame as well. And see, that's the lower high point. Bullish power, bullish up. We still have about 5 minutes for this candle here. Bullish, bearish, bullish, bearish. Okay, so we just insert this trade here, right? I'm really paying attention to how this is going to push right here. We obviously have that support right here, which is just hitting now. I would love for it to have a nice push to the downside. And we pretty much need to see this level be broken here for us to feel confident about this M5 here pushing. Now once again, even if we get that lower low now, we would still pretty much be waiting for a lower high point, which can be like, again, a secondary entry, or the case may be, right? M5 candle. Okay, so my thought process right now, right, is pretty much right now what's kind of getting me is just this whole time frame. I gotta remember that, okay, M30, this is pretty much the trend, right? But we're pretty much analyzing the same trend based off M5, right? So this is the same thing. It's just we have this higher low, higher high here. We can analyze all this a bit better. So I gotta remember that this is still pretty much a lower high point. It's like the same thing here, right? Pretty much higher low, higher high, higher low, and now this could be the potential lower high point. So it's the same thing on M5. It's the same trend here, right? And again, if this is going to be that lower high point that then breaks this level here, that's pretty much what we want to see, right? Because it's the same thing. It's that same higher low point. Here. So still that push. This is where we really want to see this candle right here. If we're either going to break that or not, right? So even if we kind of have some type of, how do I put it, some type of exhaustion, some type of resistance, cool, we can pretty much go based off that. And M1 here, pretty much breaking 100%. again, if 100% is not broken, 100% is not broken. And that is what gets us. So if we can get this break here. We already broke that higher low point, that's cool. But once again, it's not 100%. It's just like a, doesn't mean it still can't come back here, retrace at this level, and we can kind of get that little, but again, 100% is not broken. This is where, okay, we have about 20-30 seconds. We got a doji. MAs are pretty much crossing. And we could very much see this pretty much have like a full retracement. To be honest, you can even see it come all the way back up to these MAs. Even here. And shit, we can even have it come all the way up here. M30 close. M30 did close with lots of exhaustion. Lots of exhaustion. M5. Same thing though, it's the same thing. So we're pretty much trying to say that this is going to be a lower high point. And for it being a lower high point, it's still pretty much good. The fact that we did break like a little higher low point here, right, for us to feel some type of confidence, like, right, maybe we would want to see some type of pullback here, but again, 100% didn't pretty much break, so that is pretty much the downside to that. 100% did not break, 100% did not break. Break MAs. Yeah, we'll give some time here. I like this push here. So one thing I would have loved would be for 100% to be broken right here, right? We kind of have like a little variation, but it doesn't technically count the variation because we didn't get that 100% break. We did get a higher low point break, which is not bad, but just, I mean, again, so technically at this point it's still pretty much bullish overall. And what we would be waiting for here is like a counter trend, pretty much for this, to make sure that we don't push back, and this can pull back all the way up. This is something if you want to hold or we don't hold. So again, we're pretty much So this is where we're at, bro. This is where we're at. This is where I feel like we're just inserted to, right? So let me actually open this up based off the other one. Which one was it? Trailer. So that's pretty much there. Right now I'm in $20 in profit. Like we said before, stops would be up here. So this is pretty much the overall trend from here to here. I'm giving it pretty much that breathing room. This is kind of where I'm at within this here. So I'm pretty much saying that at this point here, right, if we can draw this out here, that's that retracement, right? We're pretty much at that 78.6, which I like to consider that golden zone. A little bit above it, not too bad, you know what I mean? So we're pretty much within that golden zone, or at that golden zone, to pretty much start to see this pretty much sell off. Like I said, nice exhaustion. So it's pretty much the same thing, right? Take profits all the way down here. Like I said, the reasoning for that would be that negative 61.8 lines up perfectly with that H4MA. So this is kind of where I'm seeing that kind of. So again, TP1 realistically TP1 is right here. Let's see if I see some crazy exhaustion. We have the MA here, so I'm saying if we kind of close like very ugly, I might just close out because it's not what I want to see. TP2 down here, which is pretty much the 100%. And like here, 100% here, and then TP3 down here. So that's pretty much where we're at. Nice. Cool. So with that being said, we now have our lower low point based off this M1 time frame, which M5 is kind of reflecting that, and the candle on M5 is beautiful as of now. Still got about 2 more minutes until it's closed, so we want to be very patient with this and be monitoring it as much as possible. Like I said, as of now, I'm like 50-50 when it comes to like not worrying about the money, right? Like if anything, it's like more 75% and like 25% about the money, right? Obviously I'm in this for the money, but I really one thing that I'm trying to practice on is just the moves, right? Understanding the move, understanding where these take profits, stop loss need to be placed out for the move that I'm trying to catch, right? So it's the same thing. I'm just trying to catch the overall move. Whatever money I make, whatever money I lose. At the end of the day, before that, I gotta pretty much be more consistent when it comes to understanding that, and then again, I can kind of take a position off of that at my own risk. So I really just gotta practice. Right now we got 21 minutes in this 30-minute candle. So again, 30-minute candle right now is pretty much our indication as to whether or not we want to hold stuff like this. And same thing, right? Like we have this push down here. This is a higher low point, right? I can see this higher low point. So even if we do tend to break this lower high point, this higher low point, we make a lower low point, but we don't break pretty much 100%. Again, that's something that if we want to hold, then we can hold, but we gotta understand that we're not breaking 100%. And so that can kind of take effect, right? Because technically this is kind of where that higher low point, lower high, lower low. here, like a minor level low, because we didn't break the main one, this can technically still have a full retracement here, and then still do this as well. This can also just do this. I gotta remind myself these things. Boom. Because technically, what we were pretty much 100%. It's not like we broke that. And when we do break that, again, a lower high point still needs to come after that. So again, it's all about being precise, right? Being on top of that, being executional. These are the things I gotta practice and stay on top of. As of now, we're looking good. So again, pretty much waiting this out. I might still add a couple more positions. Some 0.01s, maybe some 0.03s. Some 0.01s. Four. 30, like so, and especially when it breaks like this, when we have exhaustion, we have all these things. Keep in mind again, it's like, yeah, we can. Oh, and actually, technically, this is a level of. So yeah, we actually need to break this high low point here, based off the M5. So actually, this higher low point is very, very much needed to be broken for us to even feel comfortable whether or not we want to hold this here. So if we don't even get an M5 break, we shouldn't even be holding this in the first place. So we still got about 18 minutes. We'll see how this pretty much forms. We're currently up $79 in profit. It's very much looking like that. So let's go to the M5 based off this over here. So I'm just gonna remind myself that I'm still counter trending, right? We're still pretty much, we got a good position for us to see whether or not this like counter trend is going to break and actually continue to push. Just gotta remind myself that though. I'm still counter trending, so there's no need to hold this. Like right now, like we got a decent push, but it's not the push that we pretty much need. And I hate when we push like this, when it gets kind of like it's really testing your patience. Really be testing the patience. Like I said, technically we're still bullish. So once again, I do feel pretty much confident in this area there. Still might push to the upside. Depending on how we close here, I just exit the trade. I'm not getting too much exhaustion. I did, and my entry is all the way up here. Here. I mean, I honestly might just hold this out, to be honest with you. This is not really like a trade. Like, I'm not really trying to make just 50 bucks, 30 bucks, right? I'm trying to make more than that. So when it comes to this here, I don't mind holding this out, giving back. I don't think I'm going to risk the entire trade as I thought. Yeah, because it was not going to push, not going to push. It's actually here. Confirm. So I just change my stop loss to pretty much above these levels here. So actually 26, even if it does break, we'll see how we pretty much, it's pretty much just a trade that I'm not going to lose any money on. Now if we do get this lower low point, so I'll put my stops here for now, but it's pretty much just, I'll close out even before it breaks above that area. So pretty much what I'm looking for is I want to see an M5 lower low point, right? If we can get at least a lower low on M5, I'd be willing to kind of hold this little position, because then at that point I'd be willing to hold this out, and it would be from point A to point B here. Once we go where we get that lower low, so even if we get that lower low next candle here, boom, right? So it can still pretty much retrace all the way up here, even hitting up all these levels here. That's pretty much that trade still. And I think up here, if I have it here, it'll be like a $33 trade, stop loss. But as of now, we're not getting that. So this is why I'm pretty much, if I don't get my lower low right now on M5, I'm just gonna close out, because we're not pretty much getting the structure that I'm pretty much looking for. Now with that being said, we can kind of move on now to Euro USD. So if I'm looking at this, right, overall still bullish, right? Higher low, higher high. If we want to look at it as an overall perspective, I mean, we're pretty much overall bearish, but just currently more bullish. Right, we broke this lower high point, higher low. 100% would be up here, but still have the higher low, higher high. Right now, we're kind of consolidating a little bit here. Makes it really intriguing to kind of sell off at this point, but again, everything's about patience, right? When we break those candles down, that first couple candles on the monthly, this is that structure point, right? We have this higher low, we have this higher high, and again, same thing, we're not pretty much breaking that main higher low point that I would want to see be broken. Boom. And now we've gotten to the point where pretty much I can see this here, that higher low point, which is pretty much this higher low point. So again, this is where consolidation starts to kind of kick in, and it's kind of confusing because consolidation, right? And it's like once we kind of start to consolidate a lot, what we used to use the time frames for, we might not be able to use them anymore. Because now it's like we have a bit more structure here, so this here isn't a bad sell. So I'm pretty much trying to say that, okay, cool, like we're trying to sell off here. We didn't get the lower low that we pretty much wanted. And this is still pretty much that point here. That are actually, it's actually kind of one of this. We didn't get the higher high. Kind of did. But let me start forming all this. Boom, boom, boom. So actually, okay, now I'm actually gonna delete a couple things. We pretty much did get the like higher high that we're pretty much looking for. And this is that trend here. This higher low to this higher high point here, right? We do have this higher low point, but it's pretty much ignoring that point because I'm not seeing that. It's just a wick. So with that being said, it's still pretty much bullish. On this weekly time frame, we're pretty much just pulling back 100% retrace, right? Boom, made a low. That's that low point there. Higher low, higher high, low, still bullish. Let's mark off this level up here as well. So we're still pretty much bullish off the monthly. And now off the weekly as well. Now, when we break this down, the counter trend is pretty much what's holding us up at this moment. We have this lower high, and then we have this lower low, which is pretty much this here. Lower high, lower low, which is the counter trend, right? So we obviously understand this is still a push, but we understand what these pushes actually mean and what's valid and what's not valid. So now we're getting a bullish push, which would be valid for the fact that we have this lower high point here seen, that's also being broken. And so now we have a higher low point here. Boom, that there. So technically, like even just here, even if we don't, at this point in time, we don't even need to see a higher low point again. It can just be a higher low point like here, which is, doesn't look like a higher low point on this time frame. It's just a bullish candle, and here's a higher low point. So this is where, again, taking higher low points when it's not seen valid, because we already have that engulfing, we already have that indication, we already have that setup, you know what I mean, to take. So at this point in time, we have this higher low and we have this higher high. This is where, again, we don't need to see that. We're bullish on the monthly, bullish on the weekly. As long as we get a daily higher low point like this, something like this, we can take. And we can feel confident about that. And again, it'll be the same thing, just monitoring it. See that weekly candle, because that weekly candle at this point now, we just need to start making higher highs. So if we don't get a higher high, right, then again, it's like we can take a position based off a lower high point, because it would be a lower high point. And then if we're still within this here, it's also be a lower high point, because once again, we didn't break 100% technically based off like this little counter trend here. But we know that we're bullish, everything's more bullish, we're just flowing more bullish at that point. You know, so this is still at lower high point, but again, we're not too, like, this is just a small trend, a counter trend, this here, you know, still, but it's still a trend. But if I'm gonna put money on, right, I'd rather put money on the weekly, monthly trend rather than the daily trend, because these are way more powerful than this trend. Yes. So let's just be patient on this here. Daily. Push the upside. I mean, I would love to hit us up here. I would love for like a nice high point, that's for sure. This is a big move, right? Big move. We're talking about weekly, daily. These are going to be very, very big moves. Moves that pretty much gonna take a long time, right? So H4 at that point, we have that there. Pretty much on the daily, higher high, higher low. Analyzing this on the daily is okay, I guess. It's not bad. Okay. So we can keep it on the daily. And this would also be that fib time frame as well. Lines up, 38.2 lines up with that area as well. So now we can kind of come here. I really want to just focus on kind of just a candlestick, right? So if I go to lower time frames, H4, I don't really see that candlestick. I'm pretty much just talking about here. I want to see these little three. I want to pretty much see this higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, unless we caught another higher high. But I don't really see that on this time frame. Kind of see a little. They start. Wednesday. Yeah, she's 71, so this pretty much starts. So we don't really see that. Now, if we look at here, we do pretty much see that. Push up. Higher high once again. go. So that's pretty much right here. So that higher high point as well. So higher low, pretty much the first two candles. Pretty much what we want to understand. Higher high, right? And structures, once again, structure is okay. Not the best, but it's still doable. We did gap as well. Let me see here. I mean, we did kind of get like a lower low, but this is where I don't like trusting structure, because when it gaps, and there's not really much structure. Like, it's just gap. Just pretty much happened. So I don't know if I want to trust this to be a. Actually, let me see how close based off the daily. We're still pretty much closing. I don't know if I'm gonna consider that a low or low. I think I'm gonna just consider it a low. Especially because we still technically have that there. Quick little update based off this trick here. Pretty much got our lower low. Or high. Not lower low. So now, question is whether or not we want to hold this, because once again, it can pretty much. Oh damn, bro. It can pretty much retrace all the way up here. It's still pretty, as long as this pretty much maintains, it can still push all the way down. Technically, we can still wake up all the way to up here. So my stop will need to be at least up here. And that's the reality of it, right? So this is where I need to start getting, this is where I'm getting better, right? Understanding structure as a whole. So again, that's me. I want to hold this. Do I think that we have enough momentum, enough confluence to hold this here? Again, this is not bad. Technically, if we want to look at, okay, hold on. Yeah, same thing. Like, these are lower high points on this time frame here. So it's not bad taking this lower high point, because we already have this structure already being made. Choices. The thing is that we're in a really good position right now for us to hold this. Like I'm talking about, entry was solid. Okay, counter trending is hard, bro. So coming back to euro, right? So on this euro trade, we are pretty much pushing down as well. Still bullish, still bullish. So okay, so for me to take any type of sell here on this here, right? I would want to see something more than just this here. I need to see an engulfing, something that gives me like a lower high point, you know what I mean? Something that gives me on this blocky time frame. I would love to see something even like this, trying to fail, you know what I mean? Something like this for me to take a sell. And now we have this engulfing, which is not like still pretty much very, very bullish. And honestly, it just might give me a reasoning to take a bullish trade once this kind of comes here, right? So pretty much still bullish. Yeah, we're still pretty much bullish. There's no reason for me to go against that. If it doesn't want to break up here once again, then it looks like we'll just be being patient when it comes to sells, right? H4, or even if we do take this entry, H1, I think we said. Okay, cool. So we have this low, higher low. Boom, we have this low. This would be that time frame. Obviously, lower high, lower low. Boom. Whenever we don't break this area, so actually, I don't mind actually starting to look for an entry, like a bullish entry, based off the fact that we just boom, boom, and then we're kind of making like a higher low point at this point, right? Not being able to break that there. Boom, boom, boom. But do we really have a So there's a high low point, obviously, but actually jump down to M15 time frame, M5 time frame. We do have this here. So we actually are overall bullish based off of this here. Pushing down, pushing down, pushing down. Once again, even just a minor higher creep. This isn't seen on this time frame. Boom, support, support, and bearish. What is this? Bullish. No, it wasn't just a bullish. Boom. So it's still pretty much bullish. Boom. And this is actually bullish. Wasn't seen. Boom, boom, boom. Higher low is seen. Still pretty much bullish. H1 is still pretty much bullish. So actually, maybe if we can wait for something like this, I'd be willing to take a position based off of that, because again, we're still pretty much bullish. Higher low here, we're arguing that indication here. We are pretty much bullish based off the M5. When it comes to this here now, like overall, we still are bullish. I mean, like M5 is bearish based off this lower high, lower low here, but we're starting to kind of transition out of that there. And then, but we still have this little retracement here, which is pretty much this here. We just broke out of this little minor trend here that was going on. Boom, barely broke out of it, and now we're retracing. So now it's about whether or not, okay, cool, we're still pretty much bullish. It's a minor higher high, minor higher high, right? So we're still pretty much bullish, but currently even here we're still pretty much bearish. So like I said, something like this here would definitely give me reason to kind of aim for buys. We're pretty much there at that point, or touching this point here. We pretty much already did touch this point here, and then we pushed up. Just again, it's just very ugly because it gapped. So yeah, that's pretty much the analysis. Still looking pretty much good based off of this here. Let's go back to this here. This kind of where we're at. M5 has that lower low, like we talked about. Starting to now retrace though. Like we talked about, this is not what we want. But again, if we want, like this is kind of what we would want if we want to. We'll try to look for sales, right? But again, it's like if we don't break 100%, we don't break 100%. And it's like we still have time to break that 100%. It would have to be within this candle, actually. So we would have one more. So if we don't, for example, if we get an H4, this closes and it doesn't give me a lower low, then it's kind of hard for me to say that sellers are in that H4 candle. You know what I mean? It just be like this. So I would love to see some type of bearish lower low point If not, then it's just maintaining itself. We would need to see some type of a lower high point. So yeah, so that's kind of mine. Over here, it kind of depends on this next M30 candle, right? We have two more candles that will indicate this H4 candle here. Depending how we close, I might just close out. Going back to Euro, same thing. Like we talked about, I'm still pretty much confident in that. I would want to see some type of higher low point kick in for us to really stretch this buy up here and maybe even fill these gaps. Like it's good for the gaps to be able to potentially fill. And then overall, we would obviously want to see just another deeper push up here. Because obviously we have that bullish candle, boom, 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 and then we can see whether or not we can actually push up here. So not bad at all. So yeah, that's the analysis for today. We'll see how we do.